Welcome back to another episode of the Have We Made It Yet podcast. I know I always say this a lot, Josh, but I seriously can't believe how much progress we've made because we're on episode 45.
45. That's that's President. It's going to soon to be former President Trump's presidential number, 45.
Okay.
We'll get to 46. We'll get to 46.
All right. But we're taking it, man. And that's the whole thing that really matters right now.
Mm-hmm.
If this is your first time listening to this podcast, it's again the Have We Made It Yet podcast. And it's the podcast where two creatives and their guest talk about the process of making it. I am the actor of Lucas Singh, and I'm joined by my co-host,
Josh Yang, the comedian or the amateur comedian, the comedian trying really hard to still stay focused on comedy, but doesn't happen that much these days.
You know what? With that arousing, confident push for your craft, I'm going to ask this question, and I'm hoping that you can, again, answer it with a joke.
Yes.
As is the namesake of the podcast, Mr. Josh Yang. Have you made it yet?
I have not made it yet. And the only little slivers of hope is this pressure that every week I have to do a joke so that I haven't done before. So we'll go with this one. All right.
Okay.
So attraction is a very interesting thing. People are attracted to different things for different reasons. Some people are attracted to sapiosexuals. If you don't know what a sapiosexual is, it's someone who gets turned on by another person's intellect. I'm a little different, though. I'm more of an egotistical sapiosexual. I get turned on whenever I'm smart, which is why watching Jeopardy is a completely different experience for me. I always win at the end. Yeah. Okay. I feel like I could throw some other like little jokes in between there and there, just like building upon that idea of like a egotistical self. Like when I say something smart, and I want to say like I'm not like that because it's kind of like part of the joke, part of the shtick. But I'm not gonna lie, if I say something clever, I'll be like, oh, that was a good one, Josh. That was a funny one. So I get anyways, and let's not dive too deep into my psychosis. Lucas, hey, have you made it? Have you made it yet?
No, I have not made it yet. But with this new agency that I'm with now, I do feel a lot better with my path. And I had two realizations that I had this past week. So the first one being, since like hopefully everybody is wearing a mask nowadays and everything like that. So I'm working at a grocery store right now, because it's a really fluid job that lets me go to auditions and everything. So I'm wearing a mask like 8 hours, 9 hours a day kind of stuff. And I'm like developing mask knee. Like it's bad.
That's a thing.
That's a real thing. And I was like, that's a clever name when I first started, but I'm like, no one gets that until I got it. And I actually have like a problem spot. And then when I was doing auditions, I was for the first time now using my girlfriend's like foundation and then concealer. And I'm finding out because she has a different skin tone than me, I have to get my own makeup now, and I'm realizing more and more. And of course it's a very obvious thing that I realized. But acting and comedy and everything, your body is actually your vessel, and you need to make sure you treat it right. Of course, acne comes from the mask and also that too, but also comes from like the stress that you have in your mental state, your lack of sleep, your diet, all that stuff. So to be a good actor, like make sure you take care of your body, because if you don't, it will show on your face. And you don't want that being out there into the world, because unless you're playing that part, I don't know, but like make sure you bring the best version of yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself, it's going to show.
Yeah, I mean, especially for like either being on the road for comedians, like all that travel, or if it's for being an actor on set, like those are some crazy hours, right? Like sometimes you'll be on set for like 15 hours into the night, in the middle of the night, and you still got to act like you're not dead tired. And like that can't be good for your body over like, you know, facial or whatever. But, you know, magic of makeup, that's good. That's always good.
Yeah. So I'm gonna like give Sephora a shout after this.
No, we need to get that brand deal, Lucas. Nothing for free. Nothing for free on this podcast. Nothing for free, even though everything right now is free. Yeah.
Josh, we have a third panel today.
Oh, yeah, that's what that panel. Yeah, yes, we do.
Oh, okay, so which means we have an amazing guest here. So I was first made aware of our next guest through a friend that I met at LB Acting Studio. He told me of the agency that he was represented by, and then he went on to, you know, basically tell me that he had some up and coming, some A-listers on his roster. Later then, he said our next guest's name, and so I had to see what she was all about. After doing some research about her, I was blown away by her story of perseverance and how the craft of acting is within her own family history. As a side note also, most recently I was flying on an AC flight and I turned on It Chapter 2. Pretty fun movie to watch if you're into horror. I'm not sure if fun's actually the right word, but I like horror. And I noticed that she was in the movie. And through that, I was like, I have to find a way to somehow talk to her. So I'm so excited that she's on the program right now. Our next guest is an incredible actor who has had roles in the aforementioned It Chapter 2. And also, you might know her best as Jen Yu in the hit figure skating drama Spinning Out on Netflix right now. Please give it up for the amazing Amanda Zhou.
Hi.
Hello. How are you?
Wow, I'm good. How are you?
2 thumbs up.
With wow, makeup. I must say that's very, very. Oh, you guys make me sound, look so good. So thank you for such kind words.
That's awesome. As is the names of our podcast, Amanda, have you made it yet?
I want to answer, but I have a dad joke in the back of my head just because you guys were talking about jokes. Can I please? Yes. Oh my God. Okay. It's going to get old real soon, but I've been telling everybody this and you might know it already, but I can say crude things on this, right?
Oh, go ahead.
Okay,
go ahead.
Great. What do you call a cow masturbating?
I have an idea. I don't know if it's going to be the punchline and that might ruin it. Should I guess?
Yeah, guess.
A mooster-baiter? No, that's too easy. What's yours?
Beef stroganoff.
Oh, that's right. That's the other one.
I'm such a dork. Okay.
All right. That's fair. I like that turn of phrase at least because mine was just too easy. Come on, Josh. You're better than that. Mooster-baiter.
It's okay. Not a lot of people. I didn't know at first. I was thinking everywhere and I thought it was so good, but it wasn't. It was horrible. This was good.
It's good. Stroganoff. Essentially, that's what I would have. That you could technically tie that to the end of my joke because there's a certain amount of. Anyways,
it still works. Yes.
It still works.
Definitely,
still works.
Yes.
Great.
Anyway, sorry, I digress. Wait. Okay, have I made it yet?
Yeah, that was the original question.
Okay. With my expectation and my goals myself, I would say no, I have not made it yet. And I will elaborate on that in a bit. In some perspective, you could say yes, because, for instance, the first time I thought I could be, I have made it, was on Spinning Out, because I got to go to work every day doing what I love.
Yeah.
And in that sense, you could say, yeah, in a way I've made it. However, myself, again, I'm going back on the no. For me, making it is... It's so ambiguous because it depends on what making it is and what your goals are. You have, for instance, let's say a recurring and well-known commercial actor who's on international commercials and stuff, and he or she is absolutely just satisfied with that and don't need anything else. And for that person, you know, he, she, or they in that sense, it's making it.
Yeah.
They've made it, right? So for me, it's about, and I don't know, maybe it's something I will never think I have fully made it, because we're constantly auditioning, even if we have made it. So for me, it's being able to constantly work doing what I love,
Nice.
without so much space in between, right?
Yeah.
That's, yeah.
My usual follow-up to that is like, what's your it's and making it? But honestly, like consistent work that fills up all your gap time would be the ideal dream right now, especially in a pandemic that we're living through. My goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, we'll start back from the very beginning of your time in acting and everything like that. I understand that you went to York University and did the acting program there. So like, I'm just wondering, for you, how was that degree and the experiences that came along? How has that shaped you as an actor and your preparation for roles and everything?
I think it gave me the foundation for sure. There are definitely a lot of classical skills that are useful to me right now. I remember I was filming a show and I had to learn. They made up a language in Warlock. Yes.
Damn.
And the translation, they used phonetic. In voice class in the acting conservatory, it was mandatory to learn that in order to learn dialects and accents and everything. So that, for instance, was really useful. And I think just with theater, it's you have room to rehearse and try different things and to go and take risks with your character, whereas sometimes on set you don't have that time, the luxury of the time to do it. Obviously you do that work, so I think it has condensed and sped up everything for me, being able to do all of that homework beforehand and preparation and trying different things and really, you know, squeezing it, and then letting all that work go. So for me, I think that's how it has benefited me or shaped me today.
Yeah, it definitely gave you to be more of a well-rounded actor then in that case, because I never would have understood like reading dialect would be a necessary skill, but to you, of course, it's a really important skill to have.
Yes, it's very true.
And I agree on the whole phonetics thing, where it's like learning it in that class is actually a tangible enough skill in terms of what you're using it for. I'm thinking of this bit off the side where it's like, I feel like everybody should just should know phonetics so you could learn each other's names and pronounce it correctly. Like, I think you do a great job. Like every time you have anybody like mention you in an interview or you introduce yourself, you pronounce your last name, you know, not so westernized like Joe or like, but more with like an Asian accent, a little bit more of an Asian style to it. And it's something where I'm thinking, like, for me, like Yang is so kind of heavy and harsh as like an anglicized version of the last name, when in reality it's more pronounced like Yang, which is a tough thing to say. But phonetically, if we all spelled our names like that phonetically, then people would technically be able to pronounce the names better. I guess I'm just kind of, you just mentioned that and I'm thinking of that off as a side bit. So I digress. Either way, another question.
No, that's totally valid.
Another question I had though, I'm thinking like, because a lot of people would go to university, I guess to help be able to get a job or be able to like, you'll go to these networking events per se, like going through the York University program for acting. Did they have something set up where right after you graduate, you're able to, you know, get connected directly into the industry, or are you kind of left by yourself?
Yes. Okay. So there is a Theatre Ontario, and my last year, a few of us and basically the graduating year, we start preparing. We take a couple of on-camera classes, and then we a lot of things. It's about creating our own work as well, our own archetype, bit of our self-directing, self-writing I think that has kind of given us an introduction, which is applicable to both theater and on camera. But Theatre Ontario basically is this platform where schools go, their conservatories go to perform their monologues and pieces. And it's open to an audience. And that audience will consist of agents or casting directors, etc. So that definitely opens up a path. Some people do get calls or an email right after of expressing interest. Some people may not. And that's okay, because there are other ways. I think that's what's so great about Toronto, because I don't know, because we are smaller, a lot of things are very, or you know what? Scratch that. It's the acting community or the artistic community in general. I feel like even though it can be so competitive, there are so many sources out there. There are so many colleagues out there who are still, like, oh yeah, you know what? Just go to this class or this teacher, even a word or a recommendation is all you need, because then that opens up to a different platform of meeting new people or new experiences that kind of point you to your next direction of where you go, or to meet certain people that you need to meet, or perhaps may know somebody, etc. And it just kind of forms that way. There is no formula. I have been asked, like, what's your secret? How did you, I literally just, I stayed proactive. I was and am very tenacious. But not pushy, I try. There's no hurt in trying. And if it's a no, it's a no, then I'll go a different way. And it kind of has just formed itself. But sorry, that answers your question. I kind of go off.
No, it's perfect, because like LB Acting Studio, well, like one of the premier acting studios that we have in Toronto there, has a great network of alumni and former students that are willing to help and willing to coach if you're willing to put in the work. And that's what I really found useful.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. You mentioned a bit about your tenacity and your perseverance there. Through researching you, I understand, please correct me if I'm wrong, but with family, it seems like it's a big part of your identity there too. You had mentioned that your mother was the strongest person you know, with immigrating to Canada at a time of civil unrest within China, and basically putting in all her effort into raising you and your sister, into giving the best childhood that you can have there. With instilling that type of work ethic your mom had, what type of basically attributes did you take from your mother so that you can put into your acting and persevere through whatever hardships you may have?
So what kind of attributes that my mother have that I have gotten from her is what you're saying?
Yeah.
And have applied that to myself. It's a loaded question. But in general, I would have to say, just by observing her, by immigrating here, and sometimes I would complain about certain things, with the fact that she did all this when coming here with basically nothing, working so many hours. If she can do it, I can do it. I'm privileged. My mother, worked hard to provide for us. So there is no excuse. And it might seem very harsh or aggressive, but at the end of the day, if things don't work out, I can blame whoever I want, but at the end of the day, I only have myself to blame. And so I see my mother as an example, as motivation. And also, whenever I am down, my mom is absolutely she's hilarious. She has this thing about her. Sorry. She's like, even if she's, maybe it's also just a parental thing, I think. Yeah. And it's, even if I'm wrong, I'm right kind of thing. I know everything. So for me, but that kind of, then she kind of, she was becoming my cheerleader with that same essence.
Aw.
And so when I had downtime, she'd all be like, have more confidence in yourself. You know, you say, I'm just the best. Look at me. Mom does that. I'm like, yeah, Mom, you know what? You're right. I have to be my own fucking best friend. I need to do this. Like, and it's, yeah. So those watching her is my motivation, and, you know, obviously her support and love.
Oh man, like what I find with this craft is act, and I think we talked about this in previous episodes, but like especially in acting, you have to be your biggest advocate, you have to be your biggest cheerleader. But when you have your parents who are also like cheering you on too, it really matters a lot, and it gives you that extra boost to just go a little bit further.
Yeah. It mind you, we have our fights, and obviously, you know, my mom's like, you know, acting's not everything. You must have a fallback. You must have a fallback. Of course she, you know, but she did. She wasn't like, you know, no, don't do that. So I was very lucky in that sense as well. So
you just touched upon that briefly, but I also, from researching you too, like your grandma was also an actor too. How did your family take it when you told them that you wanted to pursue a craft like your grandma and going forward? How did your family take it?
Exactly what I just said. You know, okay, if you want to do it, but you got to have something stable.
Yeah.
That's literally what, you know, it's great, but it's tough. So
Do you remember any stories about like your grandmother's kind of experiences? Like, was there any advice that I guess was passed down through the generations about pursuing this?
unfortunately, because she passed away so young, 37, I just remember her as being this amazing icon during the jazz era in Shanghai, and I've seen some of her movies. Unfortunately, I only remember the tragic stuff because I've heard her tragic stories.
Yeah.
But without any words being directly said to me, any physical or tangible words, I kind of learned through that to, you know, for me, I it's and with my friends, like I love helping them, and they help me too, and like there's just a huge love fest and everything. But sometimes without intent, like I'm not trying to intentionally do this, but I do exhaust myself, and sometimes I get hurt, and I think this happens to the best of everyone, and worst of everyone. So it's I think by hearing those stories about my grandmother just kind of taught me to also don't forget to protect yourself.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, but sometimes I feel like I overthink as well, unfortunately, because of that. So I'm trying. I'm still figuring it out. I'm figuring the balance. Yeah.
Self-care is so important right now. Well, well, not just right now, but like in general. Oh my God. Let's talk a bit more about your figure skating past and everything like that too. Of course, I'll go into spinning out and everything. But you had mentioned in a previous interview that you had to let go of the competitive aspect of figure skating, as acting is not a competition there. Can you go into a bit more detail about the aspect of acting as not a competitive sport?
Yeah. So in terms of figure skating, I guess it's about my attitude towards myself. I think acting, like earlier, we are our own cheerleader, and it's about kind of trusting more of the unknown and the skills we've developed and the work that we put in. Because sometimes being on set, you're not sure, you don't watch yourself, you just feel it, and you're like, oh, maybe I did a bad job, and it's hard not to go into that, as from outside it might seem so like self-indulgent, but unfortunately we're in a field that does play with our insecurities, in my opinion. So it's hard not to be hard on myself, especially with my figure skating past, because like I wasn't perfect. It's like the skating, like I didn't land every jump. I fucked up, you know. And whereas I think in terms of acting, there's more room for forgiveness of that, and it's more of like self-character, and it's like, you know what, this can work too, that can work too, because
Mhm.
sometimes, you know, more than one way works. And sometimes
That's
I'm
true.
fixated on a certain way, or a certain way I have thought of this character or thought of this scene, and I kind of I trap myself, first of
Yeah.
all, and second of all, when that happens, it's also when I don't, when something else happens, I'm like, oh man, I missed this, and like, oh god, I fucked up. Now like everybody's pissed off at me. Like it just, yeah. And then I have to talk to myself again, be like, oh my god, Amanda, chill. There are more
Yeah.
important things. Yeah.
Oh my god. Were there moments of breakthrough that you had that you remember early on in your career, which you kind of changed that mindset that you can show some examples of?
Oh, I'm trying to think of a specific moment. I think just watching playbacks of certain things kind of put my own doubt at ease, and kind of just, in a way, I think it's a muscle that you have to exercise. And one of my girlfriends and I, we would talk about this in terms of just self-care and self-support, that it's a muscle to exercise. So same thing with just by watching myself, I exercise that muscle, being like, you know what, I'm going to detach myself for a second and just see this as it is. Stop picking on everything. Like, if you don't love yourself, how are, you know, other people going? You have, like, again, you are your number one cheerleader. And
Yeah.
I had to learn how to not be like the constant competitor and my own enemy, and being like, everything has to be perfect, and be like, you know what, I am an artist and I'm doing great, and I
Yeah.
have built the skills, I've put in the work. So, and it's detaching myself from my own judgment, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I feel like it's something that all of us, not only just say like pursuing something that's objectively, it's so subjective in terms of performance, sometimes material, that it's like it's hard to really ask yourself to be perfect or to hit something like 10 out of 10, because that it's always going to be subjective. You're never going to hit yourself 10 out of 10. And I feel like, especially for, say, Asian families, we all grow up under a bit of that guise of like, always A's, straight A's. You got to be perfect. There's no anything less than that, you know, you're a failure. And I feel like, to a certain degree, that's kind of ingrained in all of us Asians to a certain extent. I'm wondering then, like, in terms of, say, like dealing with certain family pressures, that I'm sure like a lot of us like Asian artists trying to pursue this will have to balance that out and try to, you know, mitigate expectations. Like, do you have any advice on how to deal with family in terms of that kind of perfection narrative?
Lie and pretend you're doing something else, but keep doing what you love. I know, I'm kidding.
Yo, that actually comes up quite a bit. So I think that's something to consider in the beginning, and then later maybe like break it in slowly. But like that totally, I've done that. A couple of our other Asian guests have also done that. So that's totally, there's a trend there. Yeah, for sure.
But because for me, I didn't have that kind of pressure. I'm not sure if I have anything to say, but what I can say is, because every time my mother kept saying, oh, you need a fallback, you know, you need something stable just in case. I'm not saying stop acting. I would say, okay, yeah, I know, but I love acting. And my stubbornness won her over. Yeah. With
That's
what I love. So yeah.
I think that's an appropriate response as well, because I keep saying this. I feel like when it comes to parents, it's kind of just, they're always just worried about like you as a kind of like economically, financially stable. I think that's almost at the forefront, because that's how I feel like that's how like Asian parents kind of express love. It's always like either through food or just like worrying about like how you're doing, blah blah blah. So like I think that's fair. Oh, I totally lost where I was going. I had a good point. Lucas, take it from me.
So I did want to ask you a few questions about your character that you played in Spinning Out there. So your character of Jen Yu, I think, has a pretty cool story arc there. Is an incredible one that, you know, has to go through a lot of a lot of like relational issues and also familial issues to get to where she is at the very end of the show. You know, you have to combine athletic prowess with your acting prowess going into that audition. Can you go into a bit more detail about what you had to do to prepare for the audition and eventually what you think you did to separate yourself to get that part?
Yeah, I need to like dissect this question for a sec. Okay. I just drew from some. Oh, I went on a whole journey. Sorry, this was a while ago, so I'm trying to like think back. Yeah, I had to go to some places. I didn't necessarily want to go to, but I went. There's some bad experiences to kind of because the writing is so good and it does mirror some of the intense, I guess, bullying or intense cattiness that happens in the figure skating world. And from my own personal experience, it's worse than high school. So,
God damn.
yeah. So, and again, it's maybe subjective, but that's my experience. So it's just going there and actually I got after kind of opening that door and getting used to it, I got excited about it because I get to speak up for those who went through or are going through this, younger kids, and who can relate, or specifically an Asian female athlete, young athlete, and going through all of these relationship dynamics and trying to be fighting for yourself but not bringing it home. I felt it was a very necessary story, and on top of that, the mental health and all the shared issues with my castmates, being able to tell that story as a whole, it was more than just a figure skating show. Absolutely. Yeah.
There is a scene that still sticks out to me, and it's basically you breaking down in front of your dad, saying like, you know, I didn't go to college, I don't have a fallback. It was basically just revealing to her dad that she has nothing else but figure skating. You know, that intention, that rawness of that emotion. I guess my question is for this, where did you draw that emotion from?
My own personal experiences.
Yeah. Is it? Yeah.
Yeah, from my own, like, again, from my own skating experiences, or like certain pressures that I felt that kind of desperation. What specifically? Well, maybe I'll tell you another time. But but definitely from my own experiences, and I was able to find commonality, even if it's not exactly the same situation.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, because just that scene really spoke to me. But
no.
Yeah.
But the pressure to talk about like this pressure in general, it's very common, especially for young athletes or athletes in general, because it's kind of, you put everything online for this, and this is your world. It's all or nothing. So when you don't have it, it really feels like you fail and you have nothing else left. At least that was very much in the forefront for me when I was training way back then.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's a great take.
Yeah. I also do like how your character it kind of starts off in terms of the arc, like it starts off a little bit like just a best friend, supportive best friend of the main character, and then it gets a little bit more gritty. Then you turn into like a friend of me halfway through, and then straight up, like at the end, it's like, no, we're not friends. Like, you've done shit to me, and it's like, this is it. It's over. In terms of kind of that arc, how was being able to have the opportunity to dive into that character? Like, were you able to separate yourself from Jen, or did you feel like you're able to embody that character more with your own personality?
I have so many thoughts going on. Let me go one at a time. Okay, so I was able to embody more of, with my personality, that side that is more like Jen, because when I love my friends, I love hard. And that's very true as Amanda. And so when I feel, but also in my past, I feel like I have been walked over on, and that has happened. And so that I was also able to draw Amanda as Jen. So that was very near. It was a short walk to access those feelings and that relationship with Kat. So I was very familiar with it. And so when that happens and it's like, okay, you know what? I'm very forgiving. I want to forgive her because that's how much I love her. I love her like family, you know, no matter how much you hurt me, I will always forgive you. And so it was about that. But then I feel like towards the end, it was about becoming my own person. And I saw it as that. So for me at the end, it was kind of, because they made up, and as Amanda, I would probably kind of try to still figure things out and not have things say, no, we're not friends anymore. So for me, I had to kind of go a little bit more extreme to, you know, okay, my best friend literally just betrayed me, and not just once, twice, 3, 4, 5 times. And I've been walked over so much, and I need to draw a boundary. And I had to go there and kind of really pull outside of my own experiences.
Yeah. Did you ever, I always wonder this with actors specifically, because like you're sometimes being asked to be put in a situation you're not familiar with, but you got to draw some some internal emotion from, and then be able to let it out. Like, did you ever get a sense of like catharsis through any of that? Like being able to like let go of like whatever emotion may be, especially for like letting yourself become more of that kind of character that, say, is like, you know, exercising being walked on, that type of thing. Like did you ever get a bit of catharsis when you were diving into that character through that process?
I'm trying to think. Yeah, I would say so. Definitely. There were a couple scenes there for sure. And some other scenes, it was just like I'm reliving a situation, or I'm reliving a similar situation. I dealt with it differently, and this is this way. Okay, cool. And then it is what it is. And I'm there working. And what's cool about it is I was able to draw from really close experiences. So, but yes, so sometimes no, but there were a couple scenes where it was cathartic, to answer your question. And it was so cool. I was like, oh my God. But that's why I say acting is like therapy.
Yeah.
It is so therapeutic. Oh my God.
Was it therapeutic to like call January Jones a fucking bitch? Just, I remember that one scene, because that was like, boom.
I was scared shitless. Sorry to cut you off. I was scared shitless. I was going down like, oh shit, can I say that? Like, oh my God, you know, I didn't. It's like, oh my God, I'm cheating in my pants. I don't know if I should be actually swinging her, but no, it's my job. It's okay.
I did want to ask how you felt about that, because there is something that comes with like being new on a set, and like seeing somebody like January Jones who's been in Mad Men, like this bigger than life, who played a bigger than life character. It's like, oh, I gotta call her a fucking bitch to her face. It's like, oh, that's,
I was so nervous.
That's intimidating and shit.
Yes, I was very nervous. I'm like, holy fuck, this is okay. Wasn't me. It was the writers. It wasn't me.
Yeah. I think you did a great job in terms of like getting that delivered the line. You got that emotion across. How was that kind of experience working on set with some of these names that is like intimidating names, but in terms of, you know, day to day, everybody's in peers, you end up working through it. So how was that experience?
In the beginning, I'm like, oh, I have to hold my own. This is like my biggest role yet, and I can't. You know, we're all about telling the story, and I'm I'm playing Kaya's best friend in the show, and it's like, oh my god, she can hold her own, but I have to hold my own too, and because I am her best friend. If I look bad, I could probably make her look bad as well in the scene. So I put a lot of pressure on myself. Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah. Man, I can't believe you said that to January Jones to this day, though. That's badass. Can you share with us any upcoming projects that you might have coming up the horizon, or anything that you'd want to be on?
I just finished filming. I was a guest on Hudson and Rex. So
nice.
Yes, it will be episode 3. I mean, season 3, episode 11, I believe. Yes. Yeah.
Awesome.
So definitely catch. Okay. I do a little bit of teensy bit of action. It's a fun character. Ooh. Definitely.
Is that something like? Oh, sorry. Is that an area that you'd kind of on the top of your list, getting into a little bit of that action?
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes, I would love to.
Is there who's your person that like you would kind of look up to in terms of those type of action films? It's like, oh shit, I want to get into that because they did it so cool.
Okay, Michelle Yeoh for sure, 100%. Yes.
OG.
Yes. But definitely, you've got it isn't just one person, I would have to say, but I would have to say it's like movies, classics, Hero, Crouching Hidden Tiger, all Jackie Chan movies, all Jet Li movies.
Yeah.
Zhang Ziyi, even her, like I remember her flipping, through, and I'm like, oh my god, that's so cool. Like, and then her acting, and then just being that strong woman. I think it's so awesome too. And I'm not saying their non-action roles aren't portraying strong women, because I would love to do that as well, like dramatic roles. But being to play with your body, maybe it's because it's also like the athlete in me being in my body. It's so another kind of catharsis, if you will. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Everybody loves the superhero moment. I mean, that's why, like, Simu Liu, he's gonna hit that Asian pinnacle. He's gonna break
representing for us.
Yes.
So happy for him. First one, eh?
First one.
Yeah.
I hope it's good.
From Toronto.
Yeah. I mean, there are other firsts, but yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah. Awesome. Should we do word association right here?
Yes. Let's try it. Let's do it. Let's do word association. So for any listeners who are not familiar with this little game of ours we play at the end, it's a bit of a palate cleanser. We've talked through some of this deep stuff. We're getting into our emotions. Let's just let it all go, clear our heads, and then think of the first thing that comes to your mind when I go through my list of 10 words, and then Lucas goes through his list of 10 words. So so clear your mind like a leaf on the wind. Okay, so I'll go through my first 10 words. First word, family.
Mother.
All right. Okay, so second word, clear your mind. Pineapple.
Juice.
Rain.
Umbrella.
Alone.
Sad.
Motivation.
Go.
Kumquat.
What?
Kumquat.
What?
Oh, that's fair. You know what? Other people have asked that question as well, so that's it. Okay. Fair response. Next question. Mountain.
Ooh.
Tightrope.
Yeah.
Satisfied.
All right.
And finally, ending.
The end.
That was a journey. We went through a bunch of different things.
I'm to stop using words. I hope that's okay.
Perfectly fine.
I'm following my impulse.
That's what we want. That's what we want.
Awesome. Are you ready for the next 10?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay, let's go.
All right. We'll hit it hard. Okay, Zen space, comet, and everything. It'll be cool. Okay. First word of 10. Story.
You said the first thing that comes to my mind, right? So.
Yeah. Perfect. Moving on. Conflict.
Okay, trouble.
Great. Oh, okay. Legacy.
Path.
Oh. Skating.
Hard.
Hulk. Smash. Okay. Character.
Passion.
Push.
Fall.
Antagonist.
One.
Oh. Competition.
Tough.
Shanghai.
Artsy.
And the last one, Amanda. Give it up for Amanda Zhou.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
Oh my god. Yeah,
I should just do an episode of I don't know, rounds of these and make it a game, invite a few of us on, and I don't know, it could be really fun.
Ooh, like a March Madness. Yeah, March Madness of just word association games.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh my god.
Where can people find you, Amanda?
You can follow me on Instagram. Right now I'm just kind of keeping a bit of a low key, but I am on Instagram at the Amanda Zhou, Zhou.
Nice.
Yes.
Cool. Also, please watch her on Spinning Out, and also watch of her on Hudson and Rex. Or is it the other way around?
Hudson, no, you got it. Hudson
Okay.
and Rex.
Awesome.
I don't know when it's coming out yet. We just finished some ADR, so obviously in the new year sometime. So
Cool.
keep a lookout and
Nice.
continue to watch these guys. Okay.
Wow.
Oh, she's shouting us out. I feel so loved.
Yeah.
It's nice.
What are your handles, Josh?
For me, at Josh Yang Comedy across everything, and also don't forget to listen to the Sleep with Josh podcast. It's where I read random things in my boring monotone voice to help you go to sleep. The last episode I released,
I need that.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I got a lot of boring stuff on there. I read the dictionary, I read laws. I counted sheep for an hour, so you could always listen to that. Recently, actually, I got into chess, so I'm starting to read a chess book, which I think is interesting, but probably to everybody else, not so much.
I probably won't fall asleep with that. I do like that. Guys, watched Queen's Gambit. Oh my god, it's so good. Honestly, so good.
100%. But yeah, do that. And Lucas, what are your handles?
Everyone can find me on Facebook and on Instagram at Lucas John Ing. NG again, no vowels in that last name. And follow and subscribe to this podcast at HWMIY Podcast, wherever you listen to your podcast. If you want the audio version, it's wherever, all platforms. But if you want the good stuff, the video portion of this, you'll find us on YouTube then. Give it up for Amanda again. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me, guys. Honestly,
Awesome.
stay safe and be well.
Yes.
And Feliz Covidas. Someone said that to me recently.
That's clever.
I'm using it. Yes. All right.
Awesome. See you all next week.